One of the highest costs of living in a third world is corruption. It takes generations to fix this issue. It's very rarely does it happen quickly. And it's not even guaranteed that it gets corrected in generations because there's a lot of corruptions in a lot of third world countries right now. It's almost part of the definition of third world is to have corruption. Every person in business selects in competitive governance. It is every person in business selects from about a dozen different competitive governments, and governments only govern their members. So we need to modify this for pockets of freedom. Pockets of freedom is about 100. Let's go back to this one. It's a legitimately acquired land, borrowed or contracted out for a certain number of years, where we get them around the world. Central America, South America, very relevant for this. Africa, super relevant. Middle East, very relevant to this. Some places in Europe, they need some pockets of freedom. There's some people who are oppressed. Then Asia, definitely very important on this aspect. So we have a couple hundred of roughly 1,000 square mile plots of land around the world. These plots of land will be U.S. military protected, and it will bring free enterprise and liberty, and most importantly, a good rule of law. So a big part of this is legitimately acquired. So you negotiate with countries around the world to section off of roughly 1,000 square miles, which is not a huge area. It's roughly 20 miles by 50 miles, somewhere around there. It can be in any shape. Hopefully we have different, pretty decent geographic surroundings to box us in. So it's not so it's easy to defend the perimeter. And then we allow people who are oppressed to easily immigrate there, but they have to accept the rule of law, a good first world rule of law in this. So that's what we have here. So okay, we did that. Okay, first world governments. Well, one of the definitions of first world governments is to have a lower level of corruption. It never gets to zero. In America here, we definitely have corruption, but it's a lower level, and it's part of the major definition of what is first world versus third world. It's a level of corruption. Having a first world set up a government with a good rule of law, and limiting the voters of the members that are going there, limiting the voting rights. We don't want to totally eliminate it, but we limit it. Other people who freely immigrate there could allow quick transition to a good rule of law. Because the reason you want to limit the voting rights is because people who are from third world, they come with that third world thinking, third world culture of corruption. So if they have that culture of corruption, they will vote for people who are corrupt to try to protect their interest and to protect their sect, protect their group, if you will, and try to get benefits from the culture by being somewhat corrupt. So we want to limit it and then slowly give them voting rights as they see that first world governance and rule of law is better. So anyway, but we do have some voting rights where they have some choices, and the competitive governments will be their biggest choice, but with some limitations on making sure there's a good rule of law. So anyway, having hundreds of these pockets of freedom around the world will bring much experimentation. Some will be modeled directly for, let's say, the Muslim population. Maybe others will for the Jewish population. A lot of other religions feel oppressed, from Hindu to other groups. So some will be based off religion. Some will be based off culture. Some will be based off of language. Some will be based off of a lot of different things. I'm not going to say with hundreds of these, you have a lot of different basis of what the culture is going to be based on. And then different groups in America. Let's get to that slide first. Of course, there will be a wide variety of people, cultures, and religion, and norms to consider. So you have to pretty much put that in mind when you make these pockets of freedom. Who's immigrating there? What religion are they? What's the culture? What's their norms? To be able to bring these people into first world rule of law and protections. Oppressed people from around the world would have many options. I said 100 different ones. There could be many hundreds. Hopefully we get this going. Many representative groups from America. So we set this up with all Americans can join together with others in the diplomat sector of the economy, or diplomat sector of governance. I split government into 30 sectors. The diplomats will be one sector. And we have competitive governance in that. So you, as low as 5%, can create their own diplomat competitive government. And that 5% to 20%, they can create pockets of freedom, and they can be in charge of that pockets of freedom. So you have many groups from America with different philosophies of how to do government being in charge. And that allows many experimentation to be tried. So you can have socialist, free enterprise, libertarian, many people, many groups of people with different political philosophies, different worldviews, being in charge of different pockets of freedom. And that's going to bring a lot of experimentation. So it's going to bring many different governing approaches, but again, mostly first world stuff. When you have competitive governance, you have competitive governance per sector of the economy. So we don't have welfare, we do charity. Now, some of the socialist people, they might try to do more welfare and then compare to people who want to do charity, but they get to be more in charge. So the diplomat, foreign policy, that's the diplomats, that's in the foreign protection system. Now, these people in the pockets of freedom, they don't get to control what's in the foreign protection system. They're being protected by the U.S. military. And if there are other first world nations, some of the ones over in Europe and the like, they want to try some of these out, they can as well. But they're going to be in charge. That military is going to be in charge. That the U.S. president, if you will be in charge. So then they will have a lot of choices on violent crime mitigation system, from the police to the courts to the prisons, and have a lot of different approaches there. And again, what group in America, from the socialists to the Democrats to the conservatives to the liberals to the moderates, to many different groups, about a dozen different groups, they'll try things out differently. So how do they do a healthcare system that's socialist, one-payer system, or do they do more freedom? So they have a lot of choices to do that. And then people joining these pockets of freedom, hopefully they know what they're getting into. They can read up on the different pockets of freedom and what their approach is, what their worldview, what their governing structure is, and then over time what their actual results are going to be, or were and likely will be continuing on. How they deal with education, how they deal with taxes, how they deal with land and water, how they deal with free speech and the like. So there's a lot there. So a lot more to see at Haley2024.org. Until the next video.